posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by R.S. Ramza. Here's a really weird story, probably the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. Little bit of backstory. I was 100% lucid during the events of this story, and I'm a very rational, logical, and methodical person, yet I cannot find a rational explanation for this event. About 10 years ago, we got a new landline in our house. I was 14 at the time, and home alone. The phone was very bare bones in the fact that it had no fancy features, not even a screen to see who was calling. It was new, so only very close family, if even, had the new number. So I'm in my bedroom when the phone rings. Weird, I think. I let it ring out. I'm a little apprehensive as nobody has the new number, so I assume it's the wrong number. No more than 2 minutes later, it's ringing again. I decide to answer it as it may be urgent. I run downstairs and pick the receiver up and nervously hold it to my ear. What happens next? I still can't explain to this day. I hear breathing. Deep breathing, so I'm guessing it must be a guy. "Hello," I anxiously mumble. "Hello?" I hear back, almost as if someone was mimicking me, as it was in the same exact tone, pitch, and sound. It takes me about 2 seconds to realize I had just heard my own voice relayed back to me. Those 2 seconds felt like forever, and I'm freaking out. I assume it must be an echo or some weird speakerphone issue where I can hear my own voice through the other person's speaker being relayed back at me. A bit more calm, I say, "Who is this?" expecting to hear my voice echo back again, except this time, it didn't. Knowing my theory to now be incorrect, I'm panicking a little. A voice confusingly replies, "It's me?" The voice is me. It's my own voice speaking to me. The hair stood on the back of my neck, and the coldest chill I've ever experienced shot down my spine. I unplugged the phone and locked myself in the living room until someone came home, as I am just in shock. The other me on the phone sounded just as confused as I did. How they also put emphasis on the me when they said "it's me" leads me to believe they were also super confused hearing their supposed other self on the phone. I am 100% certain I heard my own self speaking to me. I was not under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, or medication at the time, nor do I suffer from any mental disorders or delusions. I have no idea if this qualifies as a glitch, but it is super spooky. To this day, I cannot explain it. And of course, no one ever believes me. Is there other me's out there? Was my phone call from a parallel universe? Who knows? I swear on everything I hold dear that this story is 100% true, and it still freaks me out whenever I think about it. Sorry if it sounded more paranormal than anything. Submitted by Igneom in the subreddit Glitch. So yesterday I was serving my food for lunch. Most of the times it's left over from dinner. So I took it out of the fridge, served a portion, and put the plate in the microwave oven. Set it to 1:30 and went back to my computer to keep watching a video I was watching earlier while I waited for it to heat. The oven beeped after some time, and I went to get the food. To my surprise, after I opened the oven, there was nothing in it. And when I looked at the kitchen table, the plate was there. So dumb me thought, oh, I lost 1:30, how could I forget to put the plate in? So I went to grab the plate to heat it properly now, and I almost burned my hand when I touched it. The food and plate was boiling hot. I started trying to find a possible explanation for it. First I thought that someone could have removed the plate, but I was completely alone in a locked house. because most of the times I'm with headphones and wouldn't be able to hear someone entering the house. Second possibility was that I blacked out and took the plate out and went back to the computer again, only to recover conscious and go do it again. But I didn't pause the video because today I was using speakers because the headphones were hurting my ears, and I remember clearly hearing the video while I was there with zero gaps in it. I also checked the time on the video and less than 30 seconds had passed. Logical possibilities ended there, since from this point I couldn't think about paranormal stuff, even not believing in it, or other unproven theories. I don't drink, I don't use any kind of drugs, neither was under the effect of any medication. Carbon monoxide poisoning is out of the question, since there was a fan on the door, cycling the air inside of the room, and the open windows on the house with all gates outside of them preventing anything bigger than a cat to enter the house. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Red Rubber Pony. This happened when I was 19. I'm 27 now. At the time I was still dating my high school boyfriend. He lived 2 towns away from me, but we spent every weekend together. My best friend Jill had also been friends with Alan, my boyfriend, since middle school. So we were all very close. So Jill and I worked together at a medical supply factory, and we would occasionally come up with some great adventures to go on the weekends. And this week was no exception. We made plans to all drive out to Alan's work on Friday, spend the night, then get up and go on our adventures Saturday morning. Friday rolls around, Jill and I get off work and swing by our apartment to pick up our guitars and backpacks for our sleepover. We drive out to Alan's, start cooking up our frozen pizzas, and bring out the guitars and Xbox. We play and talk and eat till around midnight, then decide we should get some sleep for our trip. Alan had a futon in the living room that Jill slept on, while Alan and I went to his room on the other side of the living room. We all said goodnight to each other and went to sleep. Saturday morning, I wake up and walk through the living room to go to the bathroom. Jill grumbles a Germanin at me as I walk past. I tell her to get up, it's almost 7 and we gotta get on the road. We all get ourselves ready and into Alan's 92 baby blue Ford Taurus. And then it got weird. We backed down the driveway, Alan driving, me up front, Jill sitting behind Alan. The next thing any of us remember, Jill and I are backing down Alan's driveway in her car, having just returned from our day, and it was 6:30 p.m. We were both smiling, and Jill looked at me and her face fell. She looked me dead in the eyes and asked me what happened. It took a second for my feeling of euphoria to clear, like I just had a really good dream. But then I realized I couldn't remember where we went after backing down Alan's driveway. So, being reasonable, level-headed people, we pulled back into Alan's and went to see what he had to say. We knocked, and when Alan opened the door, we knew he'd had the same reaction as us. He was pale and wide-eyed and just mumbled out, "Do you guys remember what happened?" None of us did. We sat down and went over the details of the night and early morning over and over. We kept crying and had to stop to console each other, but we could not come up with any details past backing down the driveway. Alan remembered going into his house, but not driving up to it or parking his car. Jill and I don't remember getting into her car or seeing Alan go inside. And none of us can recall what the plan for Saturday was. We knew he had a destination and activities planned, but none of us can recall a single detail about what the plan was other than drive to Alan's, spend the night, get up early, Eventually, we were able to calm ourselves down and just reasoned it must have been an abduction, but it was no big deal. We were all fine. No weird side effects or physical evidence of anything. Stuff like this must happen all the time. Through the years, we've brought it up to each other now and then, just as a passing thought of how freaking bizarre it is that we still can't recall any other details of that day. Part of what bothers me about it is how it's become such a nonchalant topic to bring up now, even though it was very traumatizing at the time. We just so willingly fell into calling it our abduction, even though none of us have a clue. Posted to Glitch subreddit by Amthdab. Okay, so I'm about positive that this has a very scientific explanation, but it was still weird. I was alone in my first ever big girl apartment, yay me. This was about 20 years ago, so there wasn't a bunch of fancy technology then. I didn't have much, but I did have a boombox, a lava lamp, and a battery-operated school clock that sat in my bathroom counter so I wouldn't be late while getting ready for work. One evening the sky got all creepy and purple-like. There were some severe storm warnings and such in the area, so I was battened down for the night. I didn't have a car and was new to the area anyway, so it wasn't like there was anywhere to go. Anyhow, all of a sudden, kaboom! Just out of nowhere, there's a huge concussive sound. The entire house shook, and my first thought was that my place had been hit by lightning. So I looked outside. The sky was all creepy and purpley looking, but it wasn't storming out. No devastation or fires in my area. The place I lived was the third-floor attic apartment in a house that was at least 100 years old, pre-war type of place, and didn't, at least to my knowledge, have a lightning rod on the roof. I figured that if lightning had struck the house or anywhere nearby, we would have gone up like a ball of tinder. My landlord wasn't exactly one of those up-to-code type of guys. I go through my house and I see that the dial on my boombox is lit up, as though it's on. So I go to turn it off, and I find that it's already switched off. What's more is that it's unplugged as well. There were batteries in, but they had gone dead long ago, and taking them out did nothing. I went into the restroom, and the counter clock was running backwards. Too bad video cams weren't around much then, because people don't tend to believe me when I tell them about this. It's going at about double the speed. I took the batteries out of it right away, and that seemed to right things. When I went back up to the living room, the boombox was off again. For those who might wonder about the lava lamp, it just sat there and minded its own business. I wonder to this day, if I hadn't taken the batteries out of the clock, what would have happened? Would it have naturally fixed itself? Or maybe, just maybe, it inadvertently caused time to travel backwards? By I Wanna Be, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit. A couple of years ago I had a dream in which I was walking around a dilapidated warehouse filled with caged animals of all kinds. All of a sudden, a loud buzzer started going off and all the cage doors opened. Chaos ensued and animals were scrambling around in every direction, looking for an escape route. As I stood there in the midst of the confusion, an old scruffy dog shuffled towards me. and spoke in a calm, assured voice. You desire power and control, but you will never attain it. I then immediately woke up. The dream left such an impression on me that I shared the dog's prophecy with a friend. I tend to have vivid dreams, but it's rare that I'm left with such a specific message to remember. I have an independent personality and shy away from leadership roles, so the dream really threw me into an introspective mood for the rest of the day, despite knowing that it was likely just a random phrase that didn't have any subconscious implications. Later in the evening, I was hanging out with this friend, and she decided to open a horoscope app on her phone. Beyond fortune cookies, I had never read any type of fortunes or horoscopes, so I was pretty shocked when the first line of my horoscope read, "You desire power and control, but will never attain it." I'm skeptical of these types of experiences, and if I'd been myself, I would have just chalked it up to a sense of deja vu or false memory construction. However, the only reason this experience is truly odd is that I had already recited the line to my friend earlier in the day. I asked her about it again since then to make sure this entire experience wasn't just a dream or false memory, and she is firm that it actually did happen. By Amichel, posted to Glitch in the Matrix subreddit. Sometime in 1994, my family was driving from their hometown in Central Oregon to Eugene for a day trip. It was my mother, pregnant with me, my father, my parental grandmother, and my older sister Sam, who was 2 or 3 years old at the time. Sometime during the car trip, which lasted only a few hours, Sam spoke up out of the blue. "Grandma Etta's heart is broken." When asked what she was talking about, she just repeated the phrase a few more times. "Grandma Etta's heart is broken," and couldn't or refused to explain further. Grandma Etta was our great-grandmother on her father's side, so the mother of the grandma in the car. So when they got to Eugene, they found a payphone and called Grandma Etta, who was still living on her own, just to make sure all was well. Grandma Etta was fine and had nothing out of the ordinary happen to her that day. When they returned home that night, they were met with bad news. Our other great-grandmother, Grandma Susan, had suffered a heart attack and died earlier in the day. My sister, at 2 years old, somehow sensed it and spoken up, but had mixed up the grandmothers. It's become a sort of campfire story in my family, but since we have no way of explaining it, we've accepted it as sort of a glitch. I've read that children are more susceptible to glitches like this, as well as aura reading and some other paranormal experiences, but I can't explain why she got the name wrong. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Yigfan. For the past few months, I've heard random knocks on my bathroom door. They happen sporadically, so may happen twice a week and then nothing until a month later. So far, it's happened about 10 times. I'm living in this house for a few years now, and nothing had happened so far until recently. And it's just one bathroom door. My friends say that something realistic can be causing it, like a prank by my sister or something, but it has happened before with only me in the house. The only things hanging on the door are clothes, which don't make any sounds, of course, and a paper bag. The knocks seem very distinct, almost like metal or when a person knocks at a door. What do you guys think? Submitted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Lashleem. I shared this in a comment, but I'm curious if this happens to anyone else. I think my boyfriend and I are connected on some other level, because we have the same thoughts at the same time very often, and will transfer them to each other. example, I'll be thinking that pizza sounds good for dinner, and he'll say, I was thinking about getting pizza for dinner. Or I'll be at the store and randomly thinking of something we need. I didn't know we needed. Get it, take it home. And my boyfriend will say, oh good, I was gonna call and say we needed that. Sometimes it happens, I'll ignore the feeling, second guessing it, only to come home and find out he was sending that signal out with his brain. We actually are on the same wavelength. So often, up to a few times a week at least, it almost doesn't really surprise me anymore, but every once in a while, it's still like, I can't believe that happened, it's so cool. I've had this happen before, but never this strong or this often. I think my living with him keeps our energies more closely related to each other, maybe. I've also had feelings about something like a road trip he was going to take and that he shouldn't take it, and that specific trip had occurrences that ended up causing him more trips and headaches. It's really cool. I think we block ourselves out to this kind of stuff a lot. The world is so full of magic, we've become blind to it. Has anyone else had something similar? Posted to the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Springy23. I just created a Reddit account after reading the giant glitches in the Matrix thread because I had to share. A few years ago, 2004, my friend really wanted to see a psychic on her birthday. She was a weirdo and has always been into that stuff. I sort of am too, but I've never believed in the power of premonition like she said. Anyway, we get to the place, it was in downtown Seattle, and go for the appointment. The psychic is a palmist, so she sits my friend down and reads her palm. I'm sitting on the side, listening, kind of bemusedly, but not really engaged. After the reading was finished, we got up to leave, and this palmist suddenly says, "Stop!" She points at me and says there's something about my energy that she'd like to read my palm. I declined and said we had somewhere to be. I was taking my friend out to lunch with other friends, and that we didn't have time. The palmist seemed disappointed and said, I'll tell you what. She asked for a slice of paper. Not a piece, mind you, but a slice. So my friend tore off a corner of some notebook paper. The palmist wrote something down on the paper, folded it up, and told me not to open it until the night I knew I'd found the woman I was going to marry. I said whatever and threw it in my drawer of my computer desk at the end of the night. Fast forward to 2012. Last year I proposed to a girl and she said yes. We're getting married in the fall and would have been married sooner, but her mother died just after Christmas of long-time cancer complications. A few nights after the proposal, I had dinner with that friend, and she said, "Remember the note that psalmist left you?" I had completely forgotten, so giggling to ourselves, we went back to my place and met up with my fiancée. I opened the drawer, dug around for a while, and found the slip of paper. When I unfolded it, all three of our jaws dropped. It read, "Remember, no peeking. Miura S. November 12th, 2004. My fiance's name is Miura S. I still don't know how she did it. A couple weeks later, we went back to the palmist and I told her the story. She sat there listening with a funny grin and said she didn't know at the time what the connection was, but that she kept hearing that name in her head. It was only as we left she started to realize the message was for me and not for my friend. My future wife and I sat down for a reading. The palmist said we would have a long, fruitful marriage. We're going to invite her to our wedding under the condition that she never makes another prediction for either of us. I also have that slice of paper. I figure I'll frame it and tell the story to our kids, should we ever commit to that.